thanks for coming. Tonight, we're gonna do review the full budget and vote on them. The first thing on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes of March 3rd. Do I have a motion?
A motion to, is it approve?
Yep.
I'll second it. Could you ask them to please spell my name right?
Sure. Where is it?
Everywhere.
Oh, yeah. No, hold it. Yep.
First
Oh, it
line,
should be Holden.
Holden.
first
Sorry.
line, 10th line, 20th line,
Oh,
you name
dear,
it, it's
yeah.
wrong.
I apologize, I didn't
No,
catch,
it's not
I
an
didn't
issue,
catch
it's
that.
So
I've been called a
can
lot
I
of things,
reverse
but not
my
that.
acceptance?
Well, we can accept it with the change for the name, right?
there
I
you
don't
go.
care about the change, just,
Okay.
No, it's important
I
we
had to
get
make
your
it
name
for
right
you.
for crying out loud, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor
Aye.
with the
Aye.
change? Any opposed? Okay, accept the meeting minutes from the March 17th for review.
Move to accept with the change of Mr. Holden's name.
Thank you, Scott.
second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Review and vote on recommendations of the FY '23 budget for a town meeting. So that should be in, I think, put together. Do you want to go?
What I did is that my role is to present a balanced budget to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen then approve a budget, and they present that budget to you, and then you make recommendations on that budget to town meeting. And it's your recommended budget that ultimately is the budget that is called off at town meeting. So you'll see I presented an executive summary. Real quickly, there was a handful of hires that we were looking to do on both the town side and the school side. We funded 100%, or I made a recommendation and the selectmen approved it, was to fund the school district at their full request. So therefore, they would receive the full 5 FTEs that they were looking for. The town was looking for 5 FTEs, and I was recommending 4.5, and I'll show you where that half represents in a moment. Under highlights, we would be raising, at this point, assuming a 2.5% increase on the levy under the Proposition 2.5 normal guidelines. The year-over-year increase in the operational budget, including water, is about 1.9 million, and you can see the 3 major drivers in that increase. You'll see that increase just in those 3 lines is 1.2 million, so it's obviously the bulk of that increase. In the operational budget, excluding water, is about 1.9 million year over year. I made very few modifications to the budget because I know the selectmen made clear at their December 1st meeting that we had not hired in quite some time with the growing town, and that we need to make sure that all of our departments were fully funded. So I made very few modifications. It allows staff to be included in a bunch of departments and also includes hiring a new position for the town, namely a town planner. The finance committee reserve, we have not used it the last handful of years, which is a positive, but it should always be there just as a just in case fund, and we have fully funded that again at the same level.
So do we use a little bit of that, though, for the tree?
This year we did.
Yeah, this
Yep.
year, right?
And I do make a note that a 5% increase will not be sustainable year over year going forward. However, I really do believe that this budget's a one-off because the increased staff, we don't normally hire a lot of people, and so it's probably a catch-up, but that becomes your new baseline. I don't think we'd be looking for a lot more staff on the town side, and I'm positive Mark Bodwell's presentation was that, you know, if they can get all of their staff that they need, they wouldn't be looking for future hires either. So I think this is just a one-off. In reference to revenue, the reason we're able to fund such a large difference is that we do have a substantial increase in state aid this year. A good portion of it is tied to the Chapter 70 funds. Although they're earmarked as education, they're really just a general fund receipt under the umbrella of Chapter 70. But in 2019, the state passed a new Student Opportunities Act because they recognized that the Education Reform Act of 1992 that set the original formula was out of date and obsolete. So they made some changes to it, of which we benefited from. So we saw a vast increase in there. Also, we received town receipts. So for example, excise tax, building permits, dog licenses, you get a speeding ticket. I'm normally pretty conservative when I estimate my receipts because they're highly volatile. And I know a lot of people in my position, they try to max that line out, but then you get into future problems. So I just gave you a 4-year synopsis. Right now I'm estimating 2.8 million. That's how I'm balancing the budget. I think that that's a reasonable number for FY 2022, which is our current year. And I just make a note at the bottom that the reason I am conservative is, for example, if at FY 21, I had said, hey, last year was 3.2, let's budget it that, well, we would have had a $400,000
Yeah,
deficit.
right.
So I'm always careful, because if I run a deficit in the middle of the year, there's nothing I can do except to lay people off. I mean, there's no other options.
Yeah.
And then I just, in a high 30,000-foot level, I just try to explain exactly what we're doing. The FY23 budget increase operationally is $1.9 million. I have to fill that gap, if you will. So how did I do it? We normally fund around $100,000 to $150,000 a year in the assessor's overlay. That balance is substantial at this point, so we do not need to add more money to it. The receipts, our actual net receipts from the state are actually up $37,000. I'm sorry, the $37,000 are local receipts, which is at 2.8 million. State aid increase, which I went over before, our 2.5% levy increase. It's one thing that I want everybody to know is that we are not at our levy capacity because we have not raised it 2.5% for quite a few time. But using the full 2.5% this year, you'll see what that is. We would take $350,000 from free cash, we would transfer it over, and that would offset the budget. I would rather have put that money into stabilization, that's what we've done in years past, but I had to balance the budget, it was there. And then just an increase in growth, which quite frankly at 52,000 with what's going on, I'm probably pretty conservative as well. We estimated last year growth to be at about 300, so this year I'll use about 350, and last year it came in at 400. So $50,000 does not make up a humongous difference on a $40 million budget, but again, we're just being conservative because I don't want to run a deficit. So that's how we get there. And then what I did is that I put together this one-page cheat sheet for you guys, and that way, if all of you want to go through your big budget books, you can. But this gives you a nice one-off, and not only can you see what the Board of Selectmen approved, you're also going to see in the line items.
Spend request
Um,
year
you-
over year.
Yeah, you're gonna see the Board of Selectmen approvals, how they're gonna vary a little bit. And if you wanna know why they vary, this other sheet will tell you the specific line items in the budgets that were reduced or added, because there were some additions in the applicable spots. And so historically, what the chair would do is that they would read off each budget, they would just say moderator 588. If nobody held it, we would just check it off. And then as you got through, somebody had a question about a budget, you'd hit hold, we'll hold, and you go through all of them, and usually there's 3, 4, 5 holds, and then you go back and you just discuss those holds. And if you wanna make a change, you would take a vote. If you don't wanna make a change, then there's no change, and then we'll total up the bottom number, and that's the number that will go to town meeting. Any questions about the presentation? Yes.
I just have a question about the assessor's overlay. I'm not sure I completely understand that fund.
No worries. So every year, you'll know that in Article 5 of town meeting, we always have an article that says that we provide exemptions for seniors, veterans, elderly, the blind. And that money has to come from somewhere.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we have to set up an account called an overlay. When somebody files for an abatement, for example, you think that your house is too high or your commercial business is too high, you file for an abatement. There has to be a pool of money that the money
Right,
comes from.
okay,
And the same thing with the senior tax work-off.
yeah.
So that money through the years grows if you don't use it.
Mhm.
And that's why normally we fund it, but based on the amount of money in the account, I don't think we
You're
need to
not
fund
gonna
it
use
this
it,
year.
okay, okay. That's good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we ready to start? Just let us know if you want to hold any of these. So moderator at 588,000,
588.
I mean $588, sorry. Wow!
588,000 hold.
You're off to
Sorry.
a hold already. I
Sorry.
think we all should say hold.
It's very small. So are we good with the $588?
Yes.
The Board of Selectmen, $379,257. Anybody want to talk about that? Okay. FinCom reserve, oh, no, that's the FinCom budget, sorry, 3,100. The reserve, 67,000. The accountant's budget, 115,763. The assessors, 263,044.
I did have something on that.
You wanna talk
I
about
have
that
it,
one?
yeah.
Okay,
Please.
we can do that. Treasurer collector at 325,750. Okay. Town council, 87,000. Information systems, 116,138.
So David, in the notes, that just says that's a data, like an error in what was originally submitted.
Correct. So if you look at it last year, it was approved at 4880. He put in 1920 and he just goofed.
Okay,
So I just made the adjustment for him.
got nothing
We good with that one?
there.
Okay. Cable TV, 1,100. Town clerk, 147,795. Elections registration, 50,466. Concom, 135,599.
I think I had that. Can we hold that?
You wanna hold that one? Yep. Okay. Let's see. Open space, $950. Agriculture Commission, $600. Planning Board, 26,966. Okay. Board of Appeals, 6101. Rent Control, 4563. ADA Commission, $500. Insurances, 281,700. Are those solid numbers right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Town Hall, 68,525. Municipal Building Needs Committee, 1486. Wastewater Treatment Facilities, 15,375. Police Department, 3,230,120. Go with that. Fire Department, 25,92,597. Good with that one. Building Inspector, hold, okay. Gas, plumbing, insurance. Oh, sorry, gas. Inspector, sorry. 22,724. I knew that didn't sound right.
Cielo weights and measures.
Yeah, thank you. This is very small print, 6,187.
Because I'm having a hard time myself.
I know.
I'm glad I have my glasses.
Oh, I have mine too.
It's still not working.
Electrical
That's all.
inspector, 22,724. So that one, I think, that one we had, so the gas and plumbing inspector and the wiring, no, sorry, the electrical inspector, they
Separate.
recommended reductions on, right?
They were.
So everybody's okay with those reductions? Okay. Canine control, 8,250.
Best deal in town.
Education budget,
Hold.
Okey dokey. Southeastern Regional, 817, 883. DPW, 1309, 751.
I think just to know what the addition is,
Yeah.
hold on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Say the
yep.
same thing.
Okay. DPW snow removal, that one's not a lot we can do. Oh, so the snow removal's the one that we hold flat, right?
Correct.
Okay. DPW lighting, 95,700. Waste disposal, 347,795.
I think just hold again for the increase.
Yep. Tree warden, $400. Board of Health, 183,913.
Can we hold that if you don't mind?
Yes,
I just
we
wanna-
can.
I just want to explain what we did and why, because
Yep.
there's a reason.
Women's Place Crisis Center, 2750. Brockton Area Arc, $250. Old Colony Hospice, $2,000. Council on Aging, 358, 481. Veterans, 66,220. Okay. The library, 501,211. Plymouth County Extension Services, $200. Historic Commission, $1,750. Veterans Memorial Day, $3,500. Debt principal, $1,881,586. Debt interest, $901,251. Short-term interest, $50,000. Benefits line, $7,234,782. Okay, and the water department, $2,139,566.
Again, hold, just
Hold.
to understand.
Sure. Okay, I think that gets us through all of them. So we'll start at the top, assessors. What do you want to talk about here?
Get my notes.
Yeah, I know, same thing.
This is Steve's, right?
Pardon? Yeah.
This was Steve's.
Yep.
I was just kind of doing some clarifications. It was just, he was trying to, I know one's retiring, someone's coming in. I was just trying to understand about that consultant service increase and the interactual services. I think I was just having second thoughts of what that was, because it gave him a pretty good size increase.
Is that Patriot Software?
No, that's-
There was a Patriot Software was one line, which was 5309, and then there was a secondary contractual service at 5398.
So I think that increase is $7,500 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a 75, and again, it wasn't like that was so much, it was just.
No, I
their-
understand.
They had a significant higher
Correct,
percent.
so I just want to make sure that's where we do, so I
Yeah.
can explain it. So in years past, whenever you have a utility company, utilities are regulated monopolies. The deal with the state is that because they're regulated monopolies and nobody can move in on their territory, but they also can't set rates without state approval.
Mm-hmm.
As part of that regulated monopoly system, they have always been locked in as to what their valuations were. So the State Department of Revenue would say, your utility is worth $20 million. There would be no negotiations on it. Everybody knew it was a little bit low, but it was $20 million. You
Mhm.
pay him, no litigation, case closed. A handful of years ago, a municipality argued in court, and it went up to the Supreme Judicial Court saying they want to be able to tax them at full and fair. So the court said, you're allowed to do it. So instead of getting what they would consider as net cash value, you can now get full and fair value. So the benefit to that is that $20 million that the state was saying we could tax them, they might now, after we do full and fair, it might be 27 million. So we have to do an evaluation on it.
Yeah.
We have 3 of them in town, and the quote from Patriot Properties is $2,500 for each one to be able to do the full comparative analysis to determine the evaluation. The reason you need to do that is because what we've never had to do before is we've never had to go to court, because whenever, that's the arrangement. I promise you, we will be in court with them every single year now, because
Yeah.
we will do a full affair. They will file an abatement, we'll end up with legal fees, we'll go to court. We think it's worth 27 million, when it used to be 20. They will argue 20, we'll find somewhere happy in the middle, wherever that number is. So that's why they were asking for that increase.
Okay.
This is the same increase we denied last year, right?
It was denied last year, yes.
I understand, I recall why, but
So if we just took the state valuation, we would just be taking what the state says, like, and we wouldn't be open to those abatements, right? Or is that no longer an option?
Nope, so I would argue that if we took what the state was giving us, we would no longer be open, there would be no litigation.
Mm-hmm.
I am being led to believe from the assessors is that the DOR is no longer going to allow us to do it, is that we have to do it at full and fair value.
Oh,
I have not been able to confirm that, but this is what they tell me, and so that's why last year I thought it was a gray area, and I didn't want to see the funding until I knew more.
mm-hmm.
I do think that after looking at some more of the information, that even if we end up in court with legal fees and this additional $7,500, I do think that the town nets out.
Oh,
You
that
know,
was my question.
so this
Yeah.
is more of an investment maybe than a.
I think so, because look at it this way, on a $30 tax rate for
Right.
commercial, just using even numbers, $1 million increase is 30 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pick up $4 million, it's 120,000. We're not, obviously it's $2,500 for each one, right?
Mhm.
So 2,500, even if I spent 15
Yeah,
grand in legal
yeah,
fees,
yeah, you're
and
still
the appellate
making
tax
out.
board cut it in half, I'm still to the better by 60 grand.
Right.
So
Okay.
I do
So as long
think-
as the net is
Yeah.
to the good for the town.
It's gonna be more work, it'll be
Yeah.
more energy. And I will tell you, and this is not a negative, it's just the behind the scenes stuff that happens. Every year, large commercial enterprises always file.
Oh.
CDS files with us every year, Lowe's files with us every year, Market
Right.
Basket files with us every year. Remember, they have corporate attorneys that get paid to do nothing or to do something, so you might as well just file. And they always file. So the same thing with the utility companies. They will now create a whole other type of career, and there's going to be attorneys working for them now, and they will file in every single municipality. And it'll take probably a couple of years for it all to settle out, and then we'll find out what those baselines are.
Yeah.
All right.
You-
They also have staff though here, right? Something with the staff I have written down here, reclassify one full-time,
Yep,
I
so-
don't know what my notes.
No, that's okay, so they have one full-time administrative person and one part-time administrative person.
Yep.
The full-time person, her name is Daniela.
Yep,
I can honestly tell you, she's A+.
okay,
She's excellent, she's been with us for about 3 years, and you wouldn't know that from what the quality of the work that she does.
okay.
So she's learned a lot in a short period of time. When we bring people in at the beginning, especially with minimal experience, we bring them in at the entry-level classification in the union contract. And then over time, they're able to generate higher and go into the next step.
Mhm.
In order to be able to move to that next step, it requires a vote of the Board of Selectmen to what we call reclassification, because they oversee the collective bargaining agreements. So the selectmen have not taken any action on this, because we can't do it until we know that there's funding. So if town meeting approves it on May 9th, then the selectmen can look at it, and they can choose to reclassify, and they choose not to. Obviously, if it doesn't pass, they can't, because there's no
Mhm.
funding.
Okay,
And that'll have to involve a conversation with the union and everybody else.
so that's what that is to reclassify, okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. My notes weren't clear. Any other questions on this budget? Any recommendations on what we want it to be? Or are we good leaving it at the 263?
I find that, like I said, I just wanted that clarification.
Okay. Everybody else okay?
I can throw my voice.
That's
Are you
talent.
over there?
I can throw my voice. No, not again, not again.
Ventriloquist. Are we
Good job.
okay on this one
Yes,
then?
I am.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Jim, you're good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next one was the Conservation Commission, I think that is, right?
It's the,
Pardon?
that was,
Building inspector, I thought.
No conservation.
Yeah, Conservation, we have
1710.
Scott was the one that
1710.
held it.
Yeah, I have it on my little asterisk from what I was looking at this afternoon, so it gives me 2 seconds.
Yeah, they
of-
had a part-time to full-time clerical request.
Yeah,
And an increase for stormwater screening.
Water testing, which is mandated, right?
Mhm.
okay.
That was the big increase.
Yeah, that and then the person, part-time to full-time.
Okay.
And the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
didn't make any change there, right?
We did not.
Okay, yeah, it was the clerical person
Okay.
plus the new water, just, I saw the big jump and it kind
Yeah,
of stuck out at me, so.
yeah, that's fine. Are
Okay.
we good with the person going, part-time to full-time?
Yeah, I mean, it
Yes.
sounds like we're growing, it sounds like we need
Yeah.
to, just,
Okay.
sorry
Any-
about that.
Any other?
Don't be
No, no,
sorry.
no.
nope.
Gee.
No, we have to do our due diligence, so any questions are great. Anybody else have a
No,
question
I'm
on
good.
this one? Okay, perfect. The next one I had was the building inspector. So, building inspector,
Do you want to start this one?
10. So the building inspector was looking for a full-time secretary and a part-time building inspector.
That's correct.
So what are your thoughts there?
And it was passed by the Board of Selectmen?
The selectmen funded the part-time inspector, but reduced the full-time secretary to a part-time secretary.
You know, so here I am thinking they got some software to automate or to actually promote some self-service in the space of applying for permits. So I'm a little hesitant to increase the staff this much if we haven't really given that an opportunity to see what kind of work it saves, right?
Exactly.
So how are other people feeling about that?
It's my thought exactly. I'd like to see how the software
How long do
impacts
you
the
know before the
workload.
software will be up and running?
I don't know, I know that everything's been installed, Mike is still working with them because there's some tweaks he has to make, but I honestly, I don't. The bulk of it is done, I think that there's just some final touches that Mike has to make on it with the vendor, but I apologize, Jim, I don't know.
So it's a part-time half person?
At this point, yeah.
So
For the
And they
inspector.
wanted another full?
They wanted a full-time secretary
Secretary.
and a part-time inspector, so they want a position and a half, essentially.
My thought is it just might be
So
premature and.
it's half and half right now, correct?
It's, the Board of Selectmen approved half and half.
Half and half.
Yes.
Yes. And my thing is, I don't know that you need the secretary if you can divert a lot of your workload, or permitting, and the application process, all those things, to online.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking we fund the part-time inspector and not the secretary, and then see what happens with the software, and then next year revisit it. But what do you guys think?
I think
Could it be revisited before town meeting?
We have to vote tonight.
So we'll vote on the budget tonight, however, everything can always be visited at town meeting.
because,
Because you can always make an amendment on the floor to change the number if you want to increase it.
you know, God forbid he puts together the program and it works like a top, and they still find that they need that half person to help keep the paperwork properly flowing. I just, you know, we all, I don't know how often any of you go up there, but I know that they're always behind the eight ball, so to speak, in my visits as a contractor. I'm a little hesitant on saying, no, let's not give it to them.
I know originally I was looking at it, I never go up there, by the way, I just was thinking it was a little high. But I mean, I think if we do the half and half, you know, the selectmen are going that way, I don't see why we would need to remove the other half, but that's just me personally.
So you're saying go with half, a part-time inspector and
Go
a
with what the
part-time
board-
secretary?
Yeah, what the Board of
The
Selectmen.
selectmen have recommended.
Recommended,
Mhm.
versus going against and trying to take that other half away. But again, that's my
Mhm.
thought. And again, I am not there.
Yeah,
I just know there's plenty of building going on around here, and I don't know all their
And it's only gonna get better.
activities. I thought we
busier.
were running out of room, no.
We think it's going to get busier, you know.
yeah, I
no.
mean, the economy's kinda,
We don't know where the economy's going.
Well, that's
yeah.
what
Well,
I mean,
interest
you know what I
rates
mean?
are
Like,
way up.
In theory, it'll get busier, but if the economy tanks, that tanks, interest rates go up. You just,
Yeah.
nobody here is an economist, right?
Right.
But I just don't wanna put somebody in a position that we don't need a year or two from now,
Yeah, and then you have to lay them off.
between what the software can do and again, with the unknown,
Mhm.
so.
I mean, a part-time inspector should free him up a little more too, right, to, you know. I just think, you know, it's a lot, all at once. So what do we wanna do here?
I'm inclined to go with what the selectmen said.
Okay. Scott,
Select,
Jeff?
My recommendation would be to cut the full 40,000, it looks like it's 40,194,
And we cut half of that.
so half of that, so the other 20, so to speak.
Right.
Jim?
I go with what the selectmen suggested.
Okay. So what do we do in this case? I forget, when we don't all 100% agree.
No problem.
We
So-
don't do that very often.
No, okay.
so we won, it's fine. It's 3-2.
You just get noted in the
It's
book
the end
that
of
way.
story.
So somebody makes a motion, either one person makes a motion that right now the selectmen's approval is 229,985. Somebody makes a motion for that, or somebody takes $20,000 off and makes a motion for that number. Somebody seconds it, and you take a vote, and however it goes is however it goes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the 229,985 as written and voted on at the selectmen's meeting last night.
Okay. All those in favor?
No, you need a second.
Oh, sorry, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Cheryl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2 opposed.
So that carries 3-2.
Okay. So we leave it at the 229, right?
Yes.
All right, so the education budget we put a hold on. What do we want to talk about here?
Okay, I have to bring to everybody's attention the fact that I'm going to be recusing myself from a line within that budget when it comes time to vote. And I don't know if I should do it now, or if I should do it, we can vote on all the budgets and put that budget as a second vote. It's up to how everybody else feels in here.
I think
Do we have a quorum?
Do we have, I was gonna say, or do we have an objection to the school budget amongst the 4 of us, right?
I don't.
Yeah, so if it's okay, I'll handle Jim's concern first. So I think your concern is you just want to make sure that you recuse yourself
I've
from the
already-
appropriate line.
I'm gonna recuse myself from a line that has $97,915. I have the account number. I've had a long talk with conflict of interest people. They suggested that it's the easiest way to do it. They did make a comment that if more money was to be given to the school down the road, that it could go back into this line, but as we're well aware, that doesn't always happen. And it most likely won't happen this year based on, in my opinion, that we're giving the school exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just need to put that up front with all of you.
What's the line, Jim?
The number?
The description.
The description is the preschool sped aid.
Okay.
So is that how it goes? It's one line within the budget you recuse yourself, or the whole budget?
It sounds like he had a conversation with conflict of interest, so he's
Okay.
following their advice.
So you're following their advice?
So-
Okay,
They would not give me legal advice.
right,
I suggested doing this, and they said that that would be fine based on the other comment I made.
okay.
So,
And then I got that line from the business manager at the school.
Okay,
so Jim's made a disclosure, which means that if you have a conversation about the educational budget, he can talk about anything pertaining to the educational budget except for that line.
okay,
And then at the very end, when we take a vote for the entire budget, Jim will then say, I am voting in favor of this number, however, I'm recusing myself from this specific line item. And
Okay.
that will cover you from your conflict.
That's what I thought.
okay, perfect. And we have enough people to do that?
You do, because you only need 4 for a quorum.
Okay. So any other discussion on the school budget?
No.
I did not.
None. Okay, so we'll leave that one as is with your noted recusal. Thank you. The DPW, I think, is the next hold. And there is actually an increase, the selectmen increased that for GIS engineering. Can we understand that?
So you might recall when Chris was here, he had a second pamphlet that he handed out. It was for GIS engineering because we only have the base licenses. And now that we have a full-time GIS person and she's doing the work that's required through, we all have to do enough mapping through the state. In order to do that, we have to go from a basic mapping to an intermediate. There's license fees and software fees. So the fee this year went up $4,600, but he also showed in that handout that next year it will actually reduce down a couple of thousand, because it's a one-time upfront fee, and then you pay your annual maintenance fee, but it does get lowered. So he didn't have that fee. It's a little unfair to everybody, because we ask for all the budgets by the end of January, but you don't always get all the numbers by the end of
Right, yeah.
January. So that's why he didn't have it in the original budget.
Okay.
So all we did was we made that amendment at that time,
Okay,
This is strictly for the GIS.
100%.
so he's adding
So-
a laborer as well, right?
Yeah, now that's a different story, but
Yeah.
that's in the original budget request.
Right.
But the adjustment that was made was specific to GIS only.
And what is that line, GIS here?
GIS is
5351.
5331,
Yeah. Okay,
which he had increased, but not enough, not sufficiently.
Yeah, he only increased it 500.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I had a note here that he was probably gonna have to up it some more.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions on that budget? Any concerns on that budget? You're all good? Okay. That was the DPW. The next one is, what's the next one? Waste disposal?
I think that was just me wanting to know the increase.
2330.
I was gonna say, it wasn't me.
So,
Is this with the new increase
Thank you.
Okay.
for next year?
Yeah, so there's like an 18,000
We're gonna go up another 10 or 15, do you know? Has there been a discussion?
are you talking about percentage or on the?
No, per resident.
Oh, you're referring to the transfer fee
Yeah.
rate. So the selectmen voted a $20 increase in the fee from $85 to $105 this year.
Yeah.
And I believe it's $20 again next year to go from
So
105 to 1.
5.25.
It might actually be 10. It was either one, I know it's $20 this year, it was either 10 or 20 next year.
So it'll either be 115 or 125,
Correct.
and we'll find out soon enough.
And they're also increasing
Which
the-
is still cheaper than most towns around it.
No,
Oh,
I know, I mean,
Yeah.
I paid double that.
It's a conversation that we can have until we're, blue in the face, but unfortunately, we have to pay what we have to pay.
Or stop throwing things away.
Good luck with that.
So the selectmen put 18,978 in, that's in addition to what they're already asking for, do you know what that's for?
Yep, the reason being is it just wasn't budgeted appropriately. If you look at last year's, I think Jeff, you have your sheet out, if you'll see it, you'll see that last year, we spent $192,000 in solid waste disposal, and he'd only budgeted, I think, 173 or 175.
I have notes in from our meeting with him that we had the wrong number in
We
there.
did, and,
It should have been 200K basically.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
did too.
I mean, we don't even cover last year, and we have a 2.5% increase. Now, last year, I will say, was very high, because with COVID, we had a lot of people at home that I think they were doing some renovations and some adjustments and all that stuff, but,
Cleaning closets.
yeah, but bottom line is that I've gotta cover at least what we know we spent last year. If we
Yeah.
have to make another adjustment, we will, but, unfortunately, we're gonna get hit with our contract for waste disposal, which was an extremely advantageous contract when it was signed, had an escalated clause of 2.5% every year after the initial 5 years, which was flat. But that company ended up filing bankruptcy,
Yeah.
was bought out.
They left us.
Look, there is no good end users right now for solid waste. With the China policy that changed in reference to recycling, and I'm not saying anything anti-environmental, but with a whole bunch of new environmental regulations, it's much more difficult to be able to do something with the end products, and it just means that you increase costs.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, it's part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's,
I'm with Cheryl, though, we
there's no
have to
good answer.
reduce our consumption.
Dumpsters on the properties I manage, and they go up every year at least 10%. And they blame it on their driver costs along with the dumping fee
Mm-hmm,
down at CMAS.
yeah.
Right.
And what are you gonna do? I mean,
Yeah, the only thing we can do as people is try to reduce our waste.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah. Okay, any other
Sorry.
questions on that?
I know it's a pain in the ass, but it's what we
It
need to
is,
do.
Yeah,
the selectmen added another 18,000?
yeah,
Okay.
18,978
Just to bring it even to what we spent last year.
to what we spent last year.
Okay.
So are we okay with this one?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is the Board of Health budget,
So
5110.
So the Board of Health was the one that I made a recommendation to the board that we hold. It has nothing to do with money. That's why I held it here, because I want to have a full, transparent conversation with the Finance Committee, as I did with the Board of Selectmen as well. The Board of Health added a 2% increase in their stipend line for the elected officials. And there are some elected officials in town that are not employees. The only employee that you have that's an elected official in town is Annie as town clerk. Everybody else is a stipend position for an elected board. And so they are not technically employees. They put in for a 2% increase to be similar as to what employees were receiving. I'm not philosophically against that. However, I do think that it is a town decision as to what you want to pay your elected officials. And if you feel that your elected officials on city boards should receive an annual increase similar to the employees, that's okay, but you really shouldn't do it for one board.
Right.
If you don't feel that you should do it, that's okay as well, but that's why I reduced it, because I felt that we should just stay on par until the community, it's really not my decision, right? It's your town. I just felt that it was important to make sure I bring it to everybody's attention. So if you feel that they should receive a COLA increase, cost of living adjustment increase like employees do, then I don't think it should only be specific to that one board. That was the only reason I held it. It's only $98. It wasn't about the money, but I feel sincerely, I feel really sincere about this, that this is a town decision, and you guys just you have to make that decision. Good, that's all.
I agree. It's a town decision.
So how do we bring that to the town? How do you say to the people in town, we've chosen to say this is not appropriate because we want everyone to share, if we're going to do this, we need to do this across all the boards? Or do we speak to all the people who have stipends and say, we're not gonna do this for them because we're not doing it for you, so next year ask for a 2% increase? I mean, how do you manage that?
Well, he was just saying that because she's voted in and she's not an employee, that's
Right.
why they're removing it. So you wouldn't do it for everyone, it's just this one
I mean, I'm
particular
talking
person.
about there are other people who receive stipends.
Of course, but they're not elected, they're employees.
Oh, these are the only people
So
who,
No.
this is elected boards
right,
that receive stipends.
right.
So the Board of Health, the Water Commissioners, the Board of Selectmen,
Mhm.
the Board of Assessors. I'm missing one.
Conservation, maybe? No?
Conservation doesn't know. What I say, Board of Assessors, Board of Selectmen, Water Commissioners,
Board of Health.
Board of Health. Maybe I don't, I thought it was 5, but maybe it's 4. So those are the ones that receive compensation.
Right,
And so my recommendation is to leave it flat year over year.
Mhm.
And if the Board of Health would like to bring it to town meeting, that they should bring it to town meeting. And then the town has that conversation.
okay, that's what I
And-
didn't understand.
And then you guys all, I mean, like, it doesn't matter, because quite frankly, $100 to them and $100 to, that's not
No,
gonna
right,
matter
it's
on a
not,
$44
no, it's
million
not budget
budget.
busting, no.
Just everybody,
Okay.
this is a town decision.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right,
Alright, sorry about
have
that.
them bring it
Yeah,
to
so
the,
we
to the
can-
floor.
Alright,
We can just say we've decided to let the town decide on what they want.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
now I understand. I said,
Actually,
like, how are you gonna
Jan-
just say
Jan
that to
said it.
everybody? Right. Sorry if I confused the
oh no,
issue.
confused me, I didn't help the situation.
Second.
So are we
So-
good on this budget? We're
Yes.
leaving it at what the Board of
Yes.
Selectmen recommends? Okay. And I believe the last hold is on the water department, which
Oh,
comes as
boy.
a shock.
I was just wondering what the reduction was.
So the reduction is that because again, in January, the water department can't know certain fees. And I set, as the insurance administrator, I determine what the insurance rates are going to be. Well, I don't, I get the numbers. But I get the information from the insurance companies and from the retirement board, and then I charge them off to the water department. So that information wasn't known. So in years past, this was a little bit different this year. In years past, Wayne usually keeps those numbers level funded. He just keeps them at a 0 increase, and then I actually make additions to it once I get the information. This year, he added each line at like 10 or 15%. He just added too much, so I reduced them, just so that way they were
Okay.
accurate numbers.
So it's because of insurance.
Yeah, insurance and retirement. So it actually came down $35,000.
Yeah, the benefits though on 9100 went up, and that is a result of insurance increases, or what is that a result of?
Insurance and retirement. The
Okay.
insurance was up 4%, I think it was, and the retirement's up about 8%.
Which is more than what you thought when we talked about this budget before? Is that?
So I had originally a 7% increase, because I just did the quick math, and I was off by 26 grand.
Mhm.
But yeah, we have already been made aware from the retirement board that we will probably be looking at about an 8% increase in that line until about 2033.
Okay.
Wow.
In 2033, like I get charged, a lot of people get frustrated with state and local pensions, but I pay about 11%. On Social Security, most people pay 6.25% plus their employer matches. So I pay about 11% because I'm under the new plan, which is a self-funding plan. But you are paying for legacy costs that were
Mhm.
paying a lot less, that are retired or getting close to retire because they were grandfathered in. Excuse me, so the thought process is that by 2033, is that by adding all this additional money in, the Plymouth, the retirement board will actually be made whole.
Fully funded.
And the only thing we're gonna be paying is our administrative costs. So in theory, we'll see how it works, but in theory, if your administrative costs are about 10% of the net budget, instead of spending $3 million, we're gonna spend $300 grand, which would be a huge windfall at
Yeah.
that point. But we'll see, and that's still 12 fiscal years away.
Is it 8% year over year?
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
Mm.
okay.
but unfortunately, a $3 million budget is $240,000.
Yeah, it's a chunk
Yeah.
of
That's a
money.
big number.
Yeah.
Those pension plans were grossly underfunded.
Right, yeah.
Well, it's a combination of underfunded and also people living longer.
Living longer, yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
No,
Kill all
it's
those
true.
retirees.
I'm just saying, if you started in 1975, you worked 25 years, you retired in 1990 at 60, nobody
20,
expected you're
30
gonna live
years,
till
yeah.
85, 90 years old. And,
You only have to work 25 years before you can retire?
It's an age it's an age and a years in formula. It's a combination of the two. In my sector, you max out at 32 years or 65 years of age. So if you started at 20, you still won't max out until you get to 65. Police and fire can do that at 55, and teachers can do it at 60.
Okay, any other discussion on the water or the benefits? Nope, okay. I think we got through that.
So your entire budget, because there were no reductions, is gonna be 39,461,178. So what I would ask is that somebody makes a motion that they would recommend that number for your total number to town meeting. Jim Holden will then say that he is recusing himself from that one line item, and then you will take a second and a vote.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what was that number again, David?
39,461,178.
39 million? Yep,
One side.
178.
okay.
do I have a motion?
Motion to recommend $39,461,178.
I'll second it.
Okay, and then Jim, if you want to make.
Okay, I would like to recuse myself from account number 001-3232-5103-7716, 0051 preschool sped aid at the amount of $97,915.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I guess a vote.
Yes, you can.
You made your
Yeah,
discussion.
go home. Go home, please.
Okay, so I think we have, well,
39 million.
so what do we do about, so this particular line though, is just that one line, but we're
Correct.
voting on this.
Yep, so you just read my mind, because I was gonna say that. So in the FinCom book, it's going to give the recommendation of the Finance Committee. It's gonna say recommended, what's it, 5 of you? So it's gonna say recommended 5-0. Although it's recognized that in one of those lines, there was 2 people that objected. But
Yeah.
as a committee, you voted the entire budget.
Okay,
So that's why I will say 5-0. And because you're a committee, obviously you could still act individually at town meeting, but it's understandable if when it comes to the budget on the building inspector line, it could be expected that Jan and/or Jeff speaks against it
Mhm.
at town meeting, but you have been forewarned as a committee, and that way you are able to be prepared to speak in favor of it.
fine. Okay, we got through it.
You did it, great,
Okay,
which is good, because now, if you didn't get through, you're gonna meet again Monday night.
yeah.
So,
Well, so we still have to meet one more time on
Capital
Alice, is
budget.
Speed on the book tonight?
the capital budget. I don't have the message crafted, so I have it drafted, but I needed the numbers from this discussion tonight to fill in some of the blanks. So can we do that through email, or
we can do it
we
next
can
meeting.
do it at the next meeting?
We'll do it the next
Okay.
meeting, because the next meeting, you will then vote on all warrant articles.
Oh, right, yeah.
So your warrant articles are going to include the normal ones, like chapter 90 funds,
Yeah.
for example. It will also include all the capital budget items. There is one bylaw request, there's some roads looking to be accepted. It's a total of 38 articles, which actually is really low. We're usually in the 40s. However, we have more capital budget items than we normally do, where we have a reduction is usually we have 4 or 5 zoning articles or general bylaw articles, and we just don't have that type this year.
So we have
So-
one bylaw, we have a couple of roads. We have warrant articles and the capital budget. And when was our next meeting?
So your next meeting is April 21st.
First.
So you will vote that night. We're gonna make every effort to get through everything that night, because then I gotta turn around and get it to the printer. I will
Yeah.
post you for that Monday, because if we can't get it through that Thursday night, we'll come back on
Right.
that Monday, but hopefully we'll be able to get through it. Again, 30 articles is not a lot.
We can't do it before the 21st?
No, because the selectmen have to vote on the 20th.
They have to,
Okay.
yeah, they meet.
And that night, we'll finish the budget message.
Yeah.
And then you guys technically will be done for the budget. Town meeting will be May 9th. And then after town meeting, we will call at least one more finance committee meeting, because we'll have to do some end of year transfers like snow and ice deficit, and any other transfers that we have to do.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I always do this, but I wanna say it again. I just wanna say thank you, because going through the budget is not easy, you know, and again, people, the
Oh,
general.
it's so much fun.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize the amount of effort that you guys put in to be here at the nights, especially since, think about it, since February, and what you're doing in between. And I do, and, you know, I just wanna say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your hard
Yes.
work.
You guys really put a yeoman's efforts in working with all the department heads, getting it all organized, keeping us organized, getting it all documented and printed, and so we really appreciate everything that you do as well, and.
And
the,
fielding all of our questions.
The colleagues in your office, and
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
you're always available, and you always answer our questions, and for that, I am grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gina, for your notes. Any other business for the group? Everybody vote, go out and vote.
Yes.
Vote
that's this
tomorrow,
week.
or
This
Saturday.
weekend, right?
Saturday.
Saturday. What time, do you remind
9
me
to
the
8.
polls? 9
9 to
9
8.
in the morning till 8 at night
Spring Street.
at the
Be there.
Spring
Spring
Street
Street
School.
School.
So
Keep your
that's our,
fingers crossed it doesn't rain.
that's our public service announcement. Get out and vote.
Says it's gonna rain, I can't help
Just
it.
light sprinkles.
Yeah.
I'll be working in the yard. We'll be
Well,
Yeah, but there's nothing worse than hanging around in
good.
the
I
rain.
hear you. Yeah, I don't have to stand out in it.
That's true.
The masses are on.
Not that I have a choice, but
All right.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, you do.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned.
Has
Thank
anyone ever
you,
opposed?
Ben.